All right, I know a lot of you guys asked me what is the 4B movement and what is the difference between 4B movement and white feminism. So, off the top of my head, you have to understand Korea is a homogeneous society. That means there's 96% plus, like 96 point some odd percent of Koreans live in Korea. That means we don't have to deal with race. So you could just focus on what it means to be a woman. And guess what? If I was still living in Korea, I would have been a feminist in Korea, like a 4B movement feminist, probably, because I was all into all that feminism and stuff because my dad was an a-hole. He was a misogynist. But guess what? I live in America, and America is built and founded on white supremacy. And that is the biggest difference between Korea and America, is that in America, race is a bigger issue. America was founded on exploiting black people, using them as slaves, and dehumanizing them. So in America, racism and the dehumanization of people of color and women of color is a bigger issue because you're not human. So how luxurious must it be to only focus on women's rights? Because as a woman of color, we're trying to focus on being seen as a human being. And let's focus on another thing that's really glaringly different between the American culture and the Korean culture, which is individualism versus collectivism. America is an individualistic society, and as an American white woman, you are an individual. You are seen as an individual, like you're Karen, you're Jane, you're Jennifer, you're Sarah. People see you as who you are as an individual, and you also value yourself as an individual. Versus in Korea, we are a collective. We are a collective in families. We are a collective in society. So a Korean woman, a grown woman, could go through a whole life without ever being called by her name. But you will be called by your name when you're a child and when you're going to school. But as soon as you grow up, and as a Korean woman, you're expected to marry young. You have to marry early, otherwise you're expired. And as soon as you have a baby, you're somebody's mom. Literally, they don't call you by your name, they call you by your kid's name. Like you are David's mom, Sarah's mom. So a Korean woman could go through a whole adult life without ever having her name being called out. Unless you're at the hospital or something. Also, the difference I've noticed between Korean women and white women is that Korean women believe in self-sacrificing. So Korean women will sacrifice themselves for their family. Versus American women, you guys believe in individual happiness and your own happiness. So you will put yourself first. I'm not saying all of you do it, but I'm saying that is the culture. Also, it used to be very common in Korea where male is more revered, so a son is more revered. So the son gets dibs on everything. They are treated like the first-class citizen, and girls are treated like second-class citizen. And that includes starting at birth. They were aborting girl babies because they wanted sons. That's not something white women have to worry about, or white girls have to worry about, or in the culture of America you guys have to worry about, because they don't abort white baby girls because of the patriarchy. So let me talk about the 4B movement. The 4B movement is an offshoot of Escape the Corset movement in Korea. So Escape the Corset movement is denying the beauty standards in Korea and being anti-consumerist. That means not buying any beauty products. That means not buying fashion shoes, fashion clothes, going to the department store, getting your nails done. It's about not buying into the products, so you're not spending money on these. It's an anti-consumerist movement. It's about saying no to the male patriarchy. It's about saying no to being pleasing to the male gaze. What I like to say about white feminists are white feminism is basically Barbie feminism. Barbie feminists use their sexuality and is focused on how they look and and want to be pleasing to the male gaze so they could use their body and their looks to get ahead. That is not saying no to patriarchy. That's actually upholding patriarchy and upholding white supremacy, the system that we live in. White feminism is tied to white supremacy and tied to capitalism. So the 4B movement is an offshoot of Escape the Corset movement, which is saying no to male patriarchy. So what white women are doing is that you guys are just picking the 4B movement where it's anti-men, where you're not having sex with men, you're not having children with men, you're not getting married to a man, and you're not dating a man, obviously. So it seems like an anti-man movement, but you are missing the fundamental part of it. It's about not contributing to male patriarchy. And also the 4B movement is not a big movement in Korea. It's not like widespread. And also the 4B movement was inspired by a book called Kim Ji-young, born 1982. And it's a book written by a millennial Korean. And in that book, she discusses the patriarchy in Korea with how a woman leads their life, and most of her story is in the workplace, in schools, and how society, Korean society, treats Korean women as a whole. And it tears apart and breaks apart all parts of women's right to be self-determining and all the sacrifices that we have to make in order to fit in and to be able to play with the boys.